Now, the Gauteng provincial government says it will approach the Constitutional Court following the ruling by the Pretoria High Court, which overturned MEC Lebogang Maile's decision to dissolve the Tshwane Council. The city of Tshwane Council was dissolved by Gauteng Premier David Makhura following claims that the metro has failed to provide services to its residents. The DA's chairperson, Mike Moriarty, says they are not surprised by the Gauteng government's move to take the matter to the Constitutional Court. Now, joining us is Professor Lesiba Teffo, political analyst, just to give us a sense of what the situation means. Prof, a very good morning to you. Welcome to Newsroom Africa. Thank you for your time. Will the rift in Tshwane ever end? I suppose that's a big question to ask.
Yes, indeed. At one stage, it has to, and it will indeed. If only MEC Maile would find it within his heart to accept that there could be other people and indeed other political parties that can render a good service other than his own party. In my own personal opinion, if you take this in context, it is difficult not to arrive at the conclusion that he is obsessed in staging a coup de grace, a bloodless coup. He's keen on usurping the power to replace the DA with any other person, and the West still, at least, with a former mayor of the ruling party. It is important to note that, one, he tried and failed to remove the speaker, to remove the mayor, to remove the municipal manager. He went to court against all advice. He lost. Now he wants to go to the Constitutional Court. It is within his right to do so. But I think if you look at it properly, you'd say something is not right. Hence I said then, and I'm repeating myself, if he could find himself within himself to be prudent with fiscal resource, with state resources, we are left with 12 months for them to go to the local government elections. Can't they just limp along with the challenges they are facing notwithstanding?
Now, Prof, with the ANC not taking this matter lying down, essentially really implying that power is achieved at all means, is this legal strategy part of such a dynamic, even at the expense of the residents of Tshwane?
Well, look, it is an unfortunate strategy that he's taking. But again, it speaks to the poverty of political leadership that is characteristic of Africa to a certain extent. Because if you say to me, in this climate of COVID-19, do you still want to have a by-election? Those who were due have been postponed. And if you pursue this strategy, supposing the Constitutional Court were to grant, to rule in his favor, would he be able to conduct the elections for about 2-3 million people in the metro? I don't think so. But it is about accepting that other people other than yourself can really lead and make a success. Remember, the ANC ruled the Tshwane Metro for 20 years. And the people of Tshwane decided that it is time to change guards. And they gave the DA the option to rule. And it is the people themselves who are fairly happy. The DA is not without fault. But in the circumstances, they are not the West Metro or the West municipality in Gauteng.
But this is not the first time we've seen political squabbles and wrangling in metros, especially with coalition governments. It's happened, for example, in Nelson Mandela Bay. Does this now speak to the future of coalitions? Are we going to begin to see more of them turning to the courts now?
The coalition government is the future of South Africa. It's political maturity that matters. We purport and pretend to be serving or being elected to serve the people. If people were to leave that maxim, there would be no question as to whether coalitions work or not. How many people, let alone ordinary people, let me challenge the political leadership in South Africa. How many know that Britain is in a coalition government? Germany is in a coalition government. There are many, especially in Europe. But because they are politically mature, they know it is about the people and about themselves. You hardly even think and entertain the idea that it cannot work. It will work in South Africa. If you look at how it collapsed in Port Elizabeth, yes. It was political mongering. It's power mongering. You remove X and you put Z. Tomorrow you remove the same Z because you realize it's not the right person. But you knew even then it wasn't the right person. You go to Gauteng. What happened? Now we are in Pretoria. But I think, and I submit, the future lies in coalition governments, and that's the route to go. And we definitely are going to find ourselves. There is nobody, even if we were to go to the elections tomorrow, that would win, hands off, the Tshwane Metro.
Now, with the ANC appealing this decision, arguing that the court erred in several aspects, why do they feel that the Constitutional Court will present a different outcome?
Look, it is within their right. There is one good point that I think I'm picking up there. If his bona fides, Maile's bona fides are not in doubt, namely, let there be clarity on the doctrine of the separation of powers vis-a-vis the provincial and local government. If that is the case, then I would say, yes, try it, let's get finality on that. But if you listen to the reasoning of the not of the judge, and I want us to be clear on this one, it is not the judge president. He only read the judgment of the full bench. And by full bench, we mean there were 3 judges. And people are trying now to isolate the judge president and say it is him. And I'm beginning to sense some attempt at targeting him. Let them go to court. Let the Constitutional Court give clarity. I doubt if it would rule in his favor, but clarity it would give. But the reasons given by the full bench, for me, are adequate to set the decision, to review and to set the decision aside.
Now, one of the important grounds that have been laid out in the reason for appealing the decision, it speaks about how the Tshwane Municipal Council became dysfunctional, meaning that it couldn't carry out its executive responsibilities and they were completely overlooked and ignored in the initial judgment. What do you make of this aspect of the argument?
That argument, I think, is very shallow and disingenuous, I would submit. Remember, administrative law would say, right, even just general good governance would say, you as my superior, in the event where you find me wanting in the performance of my duties, you have a duty to assist me to perform to a point where you say, with all honesty, I've done my best and this fellow is a failure. Maile cannot say that. He has been keen to remove rather than to assist. And even the Premier at this point, who I have got at least regard for in terms of performance, I think he also disappointed me in this instance. Because they should give us the evidence. What did they do to enable the Metro to perform to a point where they felt like now they can at least invoke this section, whereby they bring in at least an administrator, and unfortunately, and indeed unfortunately, a former ANC mayor, whose performance, some would say, left much to be desired.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, do you now think that this rift will be resolved before elections?
It can be. Hence I said, if Maile were to find it within his heart, just to accept that the people of Tshwane voted for somebody else, that person must be given a fair chance to run the Metro. And where he or she fails, that person should be assisted to a point where you can say, I did my best, now I must invoke this. Look, the elders in the ANC and the elders in Tshwane wanted to intervene to help resolve the differences between the warring parties in the Metro. They were fobbed off. And I want to believe there were still good men and women who would say, you know what, it is not worth it. It is not worth it. The people of Tshwane, after 20 years, decided to opt for somebody else. Let's just allow this matter to run its course. We are left with 12 months, and let's go out there and let the best men win in 2021. It is doable. It is possible. If only Ndate Maile, with due respect, could find it within his heart to say it is in the interest of the people of Tshwane and not his own personal or political interests of his own organization.
Thank you very much for your time, Prof. That was Professor Lesiba Teffo, political analyst, just giving us a sense of the bigger picture when it comes to the political and legal dynamics in the city of Tshwane.